Hello, lovely listeners, and thank you for joining Confessions in the Powder Room. Just as a disclaimer, we're not psychologists, therapists, or associated in the medical industry. We're two opinionated women who want to share and learn. Don't forget to hit that like, share, and subscribe button, and welcome to Confessions in the Powder Room. Welcome to another exciting episode of Confessions in the Powder Room. I'm EG Glam, and I've
And
got my co host CJ Posh. And today we're going to talk about being laid off. Like, what the hell? I've been laid off. What's next? We're going to talk about that. And we're also going to dig a little deeper into how it affects you, financially, how it affects your mental health, what you can do as far as reflecting on your career and planning for the next phase of your career. So we're going to kick this episode off very quickly, and I'm just going to give the floor to CJ Posh there. CJ Posh, how are you?
hello, I'm doing good, and very eager to talk about a event that seems to be increasing more and more in corporate America, and companies used to do layoffs, yearly, or it was a big deal. But now you see these companies doing it every quarter or even a couple times a year. It's been crazy. And I
Yeah.
know for myself, I have been laid off a couple times. And I can tell you that each time I was laid off, um, each situation, there were unique circumstances in which why I was laid off. And then each time after the layoff, I ended up understanding, from a spiritual perspective, okay, I can see why that took place because now I'm in a better place, personally or professionally. And so that's one of the things that you have to really understand when you're in the midst of a layoff or at the beginning of a layoff journey, that there's going to be something better at the end of the road. And I know that the times that I've been laid off, each time the most consistent feeling that I had was shock, anger, and sadness all wrapped into one.
Wow. How did you cope with that, after you are able to see that you're sad, angry, shocked? How do you cope with that, and what do you do with it?
At first, each time I've been laid off, and so I've been laid off three separate times in my corporate career. Um, I I am angry for that first day or two, more so than anything else. And I feel, that that is okay. It's okay, at least for me personally, as long as I'm not, letting it impact my relationships or, how I parent. I'm okay with that, letting that anger and sitting in that anger on a temporary basis, once for me, when I've been laid off. And then for me, each time is like, is anger, is sadness. And then each time I've been laid off, it's like, oh gosh, that manager wasn't that good anyway. Or that team was toxic anyway, and they were driving me up the wall. And then
Right.
and then that's when I start kind of embracing the job search, new opportunities to redefine myself, new opportunities to, start pursuing personal and entrepreneur goals. So that's kind of been the evolution for me as far as my feelings and how I've coped with being laid off.
Gotcha. Yeah, so, it's you did touch on something that's very important there. You're angry, you're just shocked, and your approach can be one of many approaches out there for individuals who are facing, a layoff or facing, a rift within the organization. There are so many ways that you can look at this, but the important thing is to understand that maybe losing that job ended up being one of the best things that ever happened to you. It pushed you out of your comfort zone and into possibly a place of growth. So that's that's my angle. Um, I haven't always stayed true to that mantra because sometimes when you're going through the layoff phase, those layoffs can drag on. So, you want to go in with a positive attitude, but sometimes, after you get rejection after rejection, it kind of wears on your mental.
Does. Yeah,
Yeah.
it wears on your mental. And so I think for me, and what I encourage, our lovelies out there who have been impacted by a layoff is it's so important to seek support,
Abs-
whether it's through therapy, if you still have access to your employer benefits or employee AEP type of setup. Make sure you get your sessions in with the therapist, and so you have someone to talk to who can give you the tools to be able to cope and manage and balance. I know for me, talking with friends and family, it helps me when I can get on the phone and trash talk. Um, the layoff and why, and manager didn't like me anyway, and didn't like working for the company anyway. That tends to be that helps me, engaging with friends and family and really talking about, my experience.
Right. I do appreciate that. So, since we're talking about support groups, CJ Posh, do you have maybe a short list of support groups, maybe one or two, or maybe what you can discuss with therapists when you're speaking of job loss that will closely resound with your mental health? Anything that you might offer as far as words of advice? I know that we talked about therapy and support groups, but what type of support groups, or what does that therapy session look like? All right, so next we're going to talk about how do you proactively maintain relationships with professional networks. CJ Posh, do you have some feedback on that?
I think this is so important. And for me, I make it a very specific point to network a couple times a week. And even if it's on LinkedIn, sending people in my network a hey, how's it going? How are you doing? And so two reasons. I just don't want to be that person that reaches out to someone when I'm looking for a new job,
Right.
um, and then second, just from a support perspective. So for example, I reached out to a former coworker last week to see how he was doing. He was, I'm actually looking to get back into, this particular company. It was a company that we used to both work for, and I was like, hey, I actually still have some contacts with a couple recruiters. Let me send your resume along to the recruiter. And they were able to, start talking and having a dialogue. So I want to be a support uh, for my network. So when I come back in times when I need a reference, when I need a referral, when I need a job lead, it's a reciprocated relationship. So I make it
Absolutely.
a point to consistently reach out to people.
And I that is a testament to who you are personally as well. So that speaks volumes, and it's not about, hey, I just want to speak with you because I'm in this rut. and or I'm unemployed. And then as soon as, the job is as soon as they're working again,
You never hear.
you
They
never hear from
disappear.
them again. It's like, "What was that?"
Right,
"Is this a is this a
right.
drive-by?" Yeah.
Exactly, exactly.
Is this a drive-by? But very good point to make, and I believe that networking, really, even in a job market where it's tough, networking does help because those individuals that you're networking with are individuals who, those jobs may have not landed on the job board, and they're able to possibly secure, a conversation with the hiring manager on your behalf. So it's always great to network. I
It's
do
so good to
truly believe.
network.
Oh, yeah,
I
absolutely.
landed one of my roles. I was at a small consulting company, and I reached out to people and leaders in my area just to introduce myself. Just it was just an introduction, no ask, no action required on their end. And then two
Right,
months later, one of the female leaders that I reached out to, she reached out to me. She's like, "Hey," she was like, "I'm expanding my team and I want someone to take over my role as director. Let's bring you in for an intro conversation." And I
absolutely.
ended up getting hired. And had I not reached out to her, passively, we would not have crossed paths. So important to work your network.
Absolutely great, insightful tips, CJ Posh. I really do appreciate that. I do have some tips here myself that, as far as maintaining physical and mental health during those times, and how I've applied them to my personal life. Because I've, been in a situation where I've been unemployed or underemployed, and that can place you in a mental headspace where you're asking yourself, am I worthy enough? Do I still have it? So some really great tips, that have helped me, and I want to impart on to everyone. Establish a routine. Create a daily schedule that includes job search activities, self care, and relaxation. You want to have a sense of normalcy. While you're under the stressors of completing a job search, it's also important for you to maintain your personal physical health. Make sure that you just stay connected to friends and family. Also, set realistic goals. If your goal is to apply for 20 jobs, per day, and reach out to three connections, then make sure that you stick to your goal, and make sure it's realistic. Don't inundate yourself. Practice mindfulness, which means, let's talk about meditation, deep breathing, or journaling. I've taken to journaling myself, which really helps me to manage my anxiety. Limit any negative news that is out there, because there's a lot out there. So you've got to press pause on it, or swipe left. Exercise regularly, making sure that you can boost your mood and energy levels. Eat some nutritious meals, and by all means, get enough sleep and stay hydrated. And make sure that you avoid those unhealthy habits. Uh, I have also learned to volunteer, and learning new skill sets. And what that looks like is any online course. Um, there are some organizations that are out there that offer certificates. Some of them are free, some of them you have to pay a small cost in order to gain a new skill set that can improve your employability. So just keep those helpful tips in mind. I think that those will help most job seekers who are really looking for new roles, and who are seeking an opportunity with an organization and they're not really certain as to which direction that they want to go into. So, uh, definitely wanted to pivot to financial management. So, CJ Posh, I know that you have an abundance of knowledge about, reviewing the finances, applying for benefits, anything that you'd like to, you know, touch on here, as far as financial management.
Yeah, absolutely. So, for me, I actually have a separate spreadsheet of a budget that I keep, and I
Mm,
call it my layoff ready budget. And it's a budget that, I will go to when I've been impacted by a layoff and I need to start cutting different things in my budget, right?
right.
The more nice to haves versus the necessities. And so I'm not sitting there trying to figure out, oh, do I cut this off? Do I cut this out? I already have it, is written down, it's ready to go, it's ready to be executed. So I encourage our lovelies who are in corporate America, um, just to have something written down, um, if your job is impacted. And if you have to cut 30% of your budget, what would that look like? So that's just one less thing that you have to worry about, if you're impacted by being laid off.
That's so
Um, the second thing is obviously understand your employment benefits, understand A through Z, what the process is, what you have to do to maintain your employee benefits, how long are your employment benefits, understand that full fledged so you're not getting blindsided. You're expecting for your unemployment to start this certain time frame, but instead it takes a couple months or a couple weeks. So really understand your employment benefits, really understand your severance package A through Z, understand, when things are going to happen, when your last paychecks are. Just be a subject matter expert in you, especially when it comes to when things are going to be coming your way financially.
nice tip. So, something that you mentioned there, having a spreadsheet, I think that that's very valuable because you get to have an outlook, right? You get to see how you're impacted for the short term as well as for the long term. You're not looking for, hey, this is just, I'm living one check to the next. You're wanting to look beyond that. And I think that a spreadsheet is a powerful way to go. I really like that. It's pretty cool.
And another thing that I do immediately after a layoff is I create another spreadsheet of prior employers, dates of employment, the salaries. Because,
Mhm.
when you start doing the applications and you start, when you get to the point where, you're going through the background check, when you're moving forward with another employer, it's just a hassle to have to sort all that information. So I just like to have it in one place, and I'm doing the copy and paste, and not and everything is accurate as well. Um,
Right.
so that's one thing that I really use, as a holy grail, when I'm looking for a new job.
Okay. Nice. I appreciate that. So, just wanted to mention we are going to be dropping in our description helping some helpful financial resources and tools. They'll be dropped into the description here so that you can see them. And we hope that you find benefits. We hope that you find them beneficial. So, Just wanted to add that there. So let's talk about career reflection and planning. So career reflection and planning, you can always take a step back and look at your awesome career that you've had, and you're flying high, and then all of a sudden you get that you know that notice that, hey, we appreciate your service, but we're going to let you go. So what is it that you can do at that time? And how does your mind work, after you get past the anger, the shock, the sadness, and relief? Let's talk about career reflection and planning. CJ Posh, you have some.
Absolutely. I mean, having the opportunity to have free time to really reflect on this is where I've been, this is what I was doing, and what do I want to do, moving forward. So it's a really great time, in your life when you're in between, opportunities, is to learn a new skill or improve an existing one. So I know, one of the last layoffs that I was impacted by, I spent a lot of time trying to learn AI and things going
Mhm.
on in AI. And even though I didn't get a certification, I was able to talk about it intelligently in my interviews. So although I just read about it, it looked like I knew about it enough, where the person who was interviewing me was, impressed by my knowledge of AI.
Absolutely. And, AI is incorporated so deeply and ingrained so deeply with what we do these days, as far
Yes,
as, our day to day duties. And those automated processes are taking the place of some of the things that we are accustomed to doing, um, you know, manual processes on. So, how do you navigate that? You make sure you stay with the current trends, and also make sure that you're sticking close to any. What I've found valuable is following like HR organizations, or anything HR related, workforce organization, uh, all of that, anything related to that, then I'm following that, because they are going to have the latest trends that are ongoing within organizations to help me as a potential employee.
yeah, absolutely. I think that's, a great strategy. From a networking perspective, I think a golden nugget that I can share is, so you're laid off and you have people reaching out and they're like, how can I help you? How, what can I do for you? I always like to tell people who reach out, hey, do you know anyone who works at this company that I can reach out to and network with? And most people are open to giving names and, oh yeah, I know this recruiter, or, oh yeah, I know this director, I know this VP. I'll make introductions. So that's a way that I've used to get more warm connections within my network.
Absolutely. And those individuals, or those connections will be the connections that uh, can actually assist you with the role that you're looking at. If
Exactly.
you're looking at a particular role, or a particular skill set, then you can actually network with that person, and they can, or you can be a benefit to them. So I don't want to make this just one sided. You can be beneficial to them by introducing them to your network and the tools
Exactly.
that you used to gain certificates, or
Yes.
individuals that you've spoken with. So this is as you mentioned, CJ Posh, something reciprocal. You definitely want to make sure you're staying out there on the beaten path, because the squeaky squeaky wheel gets the oil, so to speak. So,
No, I agree. And, I think that's a great point about, sharing information. And I know, like, when you're looking for a job and you want to, if you have a good, really good job lead, you want to hang on to it. But, like, don't hoard information. If there's something that doesn't work for you, or if you had an interview that, seemed like it fell short, send that job along to someone in your network who may be looking for a role.
absolutely.
I'm a big person on paying it forward, and don't sit on information. Well, he needs to find his own job, or she needs to, find their own job. Be a blessing to other people who are in your, who may be looking for opportunities as well.
Absolutely. Agreed. Agreed. I do appreciate that. That makes a whole lot of sense. Um, you know, Wanted to see if you'd like to share anything regarding, some job search strategies.
Both of us were recruiters in our prior lives. So I feel like both of us really know, some things that are good when you are speaking with recruiters, and I can share, my perspective. Recruiters are gatekeepers of companies. So it is imperative that you develop a good rapport with them, because they are the ones who are having conversations to the managers, to a leader about your background. And you will be surprised at what recruiters will share with leaders. So when you're speaking with recruiters, just some tips: be your professional best at all times. Even if they show up late for a call, it's so imperative that you keep your cool, because let's just say a recruiter's 10 minutes late for a call and you lose it. They'll tell that manager, hey, I was late, and he or she just was not happy, and that's not going to work for your team. So absolutely, keep your cool. I know for me personally, I try to make sure that I have a certain amount of interviews scheduled for that day.
Mhm.
And I know for me, my fortitude is about 2 to 3 interviews per day. Anything after that for me is too much and is overwhelming.
Mhm.
So I have that self awareness of what's too much when I'm interviewing. And I try not to take too many impromptu calls. I remember, an experience from another layoff. I had a recruiter call me out the blue. I had just gotten back from having a mammogram done. Wasn't really in the mood to talk, but I decided to press through, and the interview just fell flat. And then 2 days later, I get the automated voicemail or email message of I'm not a right fit. So I just really understand and do a temperature check of myself, before I take a call out the blue with a recruiter.
Good analogy. And that's something that, sometimes our energy is projected over the phone and we don't
Yes,
realize that. So,
absolutely.
just because you're not seen does not mean that it's not, it's how you project yourself. So, some really great tips. So, uh, I appreciate that. I wanted to touch a little bit on preparing for interviews and common questions to expect. Um, Something that I found valuable was to, like, research the company on social media. Do you have some tips there?
Yeah, that's a good, I absolutely do the same thing. If I have a company that I'm interested in, I will actually go on their Instagram and see what type of messaging they have on their Instagram. Most companies highlight, business activity or highlights of something going on for that year. And so I'll stalk a company's social media. I'll stalk their YouTube channel. Um,
Mhm.
I'll find clips from the CEO, from other leaders, and I listen for verbiage and I listen for buzzwords. So that way I can incorporate messaging in my interview when I'm interviewing with the company. So that's kind of a tip that I use.
Right, and those, doing that I think that's awesome. One of the benefits of doing that also allows, leadership as well as any hiring manager to see that you did your research. Not only did you do your research, but you would be a cultural fit within the organization, so that's always important. It's not always about having not it's about having the skill set, but it's also making sure that you're a cultural fit and doing your research and taking those steps that you mentioned, CJ Posh, is uh, positively one of the methods in order to, get there and let the hiring managers as well as the leaders of the organization see that you're a great fit. So thank you for sharing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that ultimately, the tips that we've shared, our experiences, I think the ultimate aspect is staying positive and motivated. And EG Glam, I know you're really good. I really admire the way that you're able to stay positive in moments where someone may jump off a cliff. How do you stay and maintain a positive mindset?
One of the things is that I can, I am human. I I can put self-doubt into my head, personally, but then I have to step outside of that and remember that, I have accomplished things in my life, and I'm very proud of myself for those accomplishments, and just making sure that I exude that confidence as well as positivity when I'm speaking with others, either on a personal basis or professional. So, one of my tips would be to make sure you understand who you are and make sure that you embrace your accomplishments. Uh, Now, they may not be significant. No matter how small or large those accomplishments are, you embrace them and you take that positive mindset and stay motivated, so that when you're speaking with potential employers, they're able to see, hey, this person is really positive about the fact that
Yes.
they answered the phone every day with their employer, in a very bubbly and cheerful mood. That goes a long way. One of the things I heard from my mother-in-law when I spoke with her recently, she was like, I got on the phone with her to wish her a happy birthday, and she's like, "You are always so cheerful." And I'm like, "Yes, ma'am." So no matter what you're going through, uh, albeit unemployment, underemployment. There are a lot of other individuals that are going through the exact same thing, but maintaining that positive mindset is going to be a shatter the glass ceiling for you, so to speak, and make sure that you just stay focused on that. And your journey of unemployment or underemployment will soon pass.
No, absolutely. I think that was such a great point that great tips. And listen, recruiters, because of the thousands and thousands and thousands of resumes that come their way, they are looking for ways to disqualify you. And so if you pick up the phone and you're having a moment, whether you've argued with a spouse or had something, go down with your kids, and if you answer the phone, hello, you know, you will get eliminated.
Yeah. Then it may be best that you don't answer the
Don't
phone
answer
or you
the phone.
let it go to voicemail or, be one of those wherein, I watched a show wherein, this woman, she's fussing at her kids and then, she turns her head to answer the phone and she's like, "Well, hello, how are you doing?" And while it's funny and cliche, it's so true.
It's
You
very
have
true.
to Yeah, you have to stay positive and motivated and make
Especially as Black women, like
yes.
we just unfortunately, lovelies, there's a little bit of, I don't know if it's overcompensation we have to do as Black women, um, but we have to tone down attitude. We have to
Mhm.
tone down, all of the stereotypes and just really make it a point to be a ray of sunshine when speaking to a potential employer.
Absolutely. And to add on to that, a sense of community, making sure that you have yourself a community to stay connected with others in similar situations so that you can take away a positive mindset and listen to their success stories. In conclusion, here, just wanted to wrap up some key points here. While you are going through that phase of, what the hell? I've been laid off. What next? It's important to keep in mind to network, make sure you keep your resume refreshed, make sure that you're reciprocating any types of job leads, making sure that you're networking with a group of like minded individuals. It's important to keep a positive mindset and make sure you take care of yourself mentally and physically. And above all, practice self care. My words of encouragement to you would be this while it may seem as though it's traumatic and it's dragging out or it's taking longer than what you would generally anticipate or expect, remember, if you persevere and push through, especially for our Black women out there, you will see the other side. You will be able to find employment again, and you will be able to, you know, take yourself and see that that employer that you are now employed with values you just as much as you value the opportunity to work for them.
Absolutely. I think that's a great way to end this segment of our episode. Um, Perseverance, is the key theme. So for next week's episode, EG Glam, let's talk
Mhm.
about confrontation.
Ooh, ooh, spicy.
I know for myself, I can be a confrontational person.
Mhm.
And I'm very comfortable with having uncomfortable conversations. And earlier in my career, the confrontation, if something was going to go down, it's going to go down. I don't care what's going on. I don't care what the leader thought about me. And unfortunately, it probably did lead to, at least one of my layoffs. Um, So, how do we have healthy confrontational and those uncomfortable conversations in the workplace?
I look forward to that conversation. I think that's something that we should definitely touch on. I'm bringing some things to the table, so I definitely look forward to that. CJ Posh.
So, listeners, subscribe, like our videos, our podcasts, and if there's anything that you would like to have us speak about regarding work and jobs and working in corporate America, just send us a comment. And we would love some new things to talk about that you may be interested in learning more about or hearing our perspectives about.
Absolutely, absolutely. Make sure that you like, comment, share, and subscribe. We're looking forward to hearing from you, our lovelies, and we definitely look forward to discussing confrontation, or is it really confrontation? We'll discuss that next week. Thanks for joining us today and have a lovely day, lovelies. We'll be seeing you next week. Thank you.
See you next week.
See you next week.